Good morning on this Taco Tuesday, April 19th. No, 19th. Lots going on in the world of sports. See if I got my headphones ready. I think I do. I do. Woo! 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 Yeah, Tracy, I saw that story on Freddie Freeman, his first at-bat against his former team. Welcome in.
This
Anthony
is the
Del
Chris
Toro,
Duel Show.
Going to mute for a moment. Aranzis pass, you lucky man. I love Port Aranzis pass. Good to see you, sir. Here we come. Goes a little bit something like this.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Taco Tuesday. Isn't every day Taco Tuesday, whether it's Tuesday or not, but we celebrate Taco Tuesday as we should across the great state of Texas, across this land of ours, as it has been co-opted by LeBron James in Southern California. Never really understood that. And around the world, happy Taco Tuesday to you on this Tuesday, April 19th. So much going on in the world of sports. The Astros are back in first place after their 8-3 win over the LA Angels last night in the home opener at Minute Maid Park. It was the 10th straight home opener win for the Astros. That is tied for second best ever in Major League Baseball history, and one behind the record of 11 held by those evil New York Yankees. Jose Altuve left the game last night with a foot injury. That's concerning. So we'll talk baseball and Houston Astros. Hottest team in baseball is the LA Dodgers. They're 8-2. They've won 7 in a row. And last night against Atlanta, turncoat trader, easy for me to say, at 6:11 in the morning. Freddie Freeman, who just won the World Series last October with the Atlanta Braves, now a Dodger, hit a home run against Atlanta in his first at-bat. We had a lot of NBA action last night. Shannon Salty Sweeney's Dallas Mavericks get back on the board in their series, again without Luka Doncic, but didn't need him last night as they hit 23 three-point shots, and Jalen Brunson goes for 41 in the Mavericks 110-104 win over Utah. We will talk NFL draft, the match featuring 4 big-time NFL quarterbacks in golf. I am excited. Andy Everett is not. We'll try to get Andy on the show to give us his elitist point of view. Jeremy KOLOK is your Soundscape stylist. Shannon Salty Sweeney, good morning and congratulations to you and your beloved Dallas Mavericks.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's just one, but one is one game at a time, sir. Tie that series back up.
It's one you had to have.
It's one we had to have
at home. I think that was critical for them to have a shot in that series.
And to have guys kind of make have their star shine while Luka deals with his injury. I think it's good for the Mavs, and obviously happy. I'm not going to get too cocky. I realize we're not a favorite in this scenario, but I'm certainly happy on this Tuesday morning.
Yeah, I mean, you get that win without Luka Doncic. It's at home. Had you gone 0-2 at home in a series, I mean, that does not bode well for any NBA team. And then have to go back to Utah. Utah obviously is a very good team, like the Mavericks are when they're at full strength with Luka. So, the Mavericks now, get the split at home, which without Luka is maybe the best you could do against a very good Utah Jazz team. So now it's a 3 of 5 with Utah with home court. But if Luka can come back, the Mavericks can win that series. So we'll talk more NBA, something that we will get into this morning. And I will give him a chance to wake up. our good friend Andy Everett. I saw his reaction to this. And Shannon, you sent this to me yesterday. I learned about this from you. This has been going on for a few seasons now. They call it The Match, featuring sometimes it was like NFL quarterbacks paired with professional golfers. But this year, it's a foursome of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers against Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Of course, Brady of the Buccaneers, Rodgers of the Packers, Mahomes of the Chiefs, and Josh Allen against Shannon's second favorite NFL team, the Buffalo Bills. It will be the 1st of June. It will be, let's see, it's going to be on TNT.
Yep.
At the Wynn Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip. And so last night on Facebook, Shannon, and we'll invite him on the show. He joins us every Thursday, but we'll invite him on so he can speak for himself. Andy Everett wrote this about this matchup, and I want to get your thoughts and Jeremy's thoughts. Andy wrote on his Facebook page last night, "Can't wait not to watch this. No Tiger, no Phil, no Rory, no JT." I didn't know he's a Justin Timberlake fan. No Spieth. All four of them have a higher handicap than I do. He's talking about the quarterbacks. Now, if it raises a lot of money for charity, then I'm all in for this to continue if these four help someone in need, especially a child who needs medical care, housing, or food. Golf has done and continues to do more to support charitable causes than every other sport on the planet combined. I just don't see the entertainment value in watching celebrity golfers on TV. To which I say, poo-poo, Andy Everett. And I love Andy, and Andy is our golf guru. And I have the utmost respect for his golf game, his golf knowledge, his golf prowess, and usually his sports takes. But Shannon, I find this kind of elitist. And again, Andy is an elite golfer. He goes and plays in Scotland, for crying out loud. But for him to say, "Oh, my handicap's better than all four of these quarterbacks," all right, good for you. But Shannon, there was a something in the early 70s. It was on ABC's Wide World of Sports. It was called the Superstars Competition. And what they would do, they would have, it was like an Olympic event for stars of all sports. They'd get NFL guys like Roger Staubach and O.J. Simpson. They'd get baseball players like Johnny Bench and Reggie Jackson. They'd get NBA players like Oscar Robertson, I think even Jerry West. And they would run the 100-yard dash. They would play tennis. They would play one-on-one basketball. It was called the Superstars Competition, and it was cool. And it was in the off season about this time of year for football, and it was cool to see your favorite stars compete in a sport that wasn't their sport. And by the way, NBA players couldn't compete in the one-on-one. If it was your own sport, you couldn't compete in that sport. I loved it. It was great programming. At one point, Howard Cosell was one of the commentators on ABC for the Superstars Competition. I look forward to seeing Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers and Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes not only play golf, but I look forward to the banter and the trash talking that will inevitably take place. Andy Everett will not watch. I will. Shannon, how about you?
Well, it's a Wednesday night, and currently looking at my television lineup, I don't assume that I'm going to have anything on June 1st, a Wednesday night. To Andy's point, the PGA, yes, they donate tons of money, and since the birth of the match in 2018, this event has raised so far $33 million for different organizations and donated 17 million meals to Feeding America. So I'm sure they will continue with that this summer. And much like you, I think of, you mentioned the Wide World of Sports thing. I think of the AT&T Pro-Am out at Lake Tahoe each summer. It's one of my favorite events because you get not only athletes like a Steph Curry or an Aaron Rodgers who play together, but my favorite Justin Timberlake, the huge celebrity music star Bill Murray, all of these people who are at the top of their game and their perspective things, but the one thing they all have in common is this love and passion for golf, and they go out there and they just have fun and they have a great time. And I think it's, as far as a fan, it's on my bucket list to go there because it just looks like the best fan experience too as far as golf is concerned. And for this, my first thought about this was, the last time they had Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers involved, they were against each other, right? They played up to that. So this is the first and will be the only time we will ever have a Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers, who are always pitted against each other when it comes to the football season, playing on the same team. I feel like for as serious as they took the game when they played each other, they're going to take it even more seriously so they can beat the young guns and Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Because that's the conversation right now too in the NFL is like the passing of the torch, the turning over. They're going to want to prove something out there. I can't say it's going to be like, it's obviously not the Masters, it's not the Open, it's not the British Show. It's not supposed to be what I kind of feel is the, old fashioned way of viewing golf. It is to bring kids into the game and show that you may love football, you may love basketball, but all these athletes, they're multi-sport guys. They kind of do it all. And this is just something they enjoy when you don't see them playing on primetime television. I'm looking forward to it. The trash talk has already started. Tom Brady posted a photo, I guess it was of his son and him out playing golf. So it's this little kid who's taking a swing and he's got Josh Allen's head on there. And Tom Brady is standing there looking over him. And Josh Allen's response was, well, at least he didn't put me in Brady gear, because Brady now has that athleisure wear line that he's starting to promote. So the trash talk has already begun. I think it's going to be good fun. I think we'll be able to maybe sway Andy a little bit. We're not saying that this is going to rival that of the Masters or the Valero Texas Open. This is just a fun event in the middle of summer when there's not going to be much going else on. It's a Wednesday. It's a Wednesday afternoon, 6:30.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we'll be able to sway Andy when it comes to a position like this involving golf. He may have really dug his heels in. We'll find out. And again, it's 6:21. Andy doesn't yet know if, unless he's listening or and awake at this hour, that we would love to talk to him about this. I'll send him an email here at the break, and I'll text him after 7:00. Jeremy KOLOK, what a point that Shannon alluded to just now, Jeremy, was this also is going to bring more young people to golf, because if you're a 12-year-old kid and you love Patrick Mahomes or any of these quarterbacks, and that when the Superstars competition was on ABC, I was 12 or 13, and it exposed me to a lot of sports. Watching Roger Staubach play tennis. Wow, tennis looks fun. Maybe I should try that. So I think that is in addition to the $33 million that Shannon cited for charity. I think that's another huge point. You get more eyes on the sport and more young eyes on the sport, but I don't want to sway you as I ask you the question. You can go all Andy Everett and poo-poo this whole idea. How do you feel about it?
Well, Chris, it's funny you mentioned that, because I can remember a show that I watched about 10 to 12 years ago called Shaq Versus, and it was on ABC. And it was just, all it was Shaq. In each episode, he would face off against a professional athlete at their own sport. So, episode 1 was Shaq versus Ben Roethlisberger, I believe.
Cool.
And I watched it, so I guess, I would have to disagree with Andy just based on my history. And I learned about Misty May Trainer, Kerry Walsh. He even boxed Oscar De La Hoya in one of the episodes. Wow. So, it goes just with what you're saying about, I would have never seen Oscar De La Hoya box when I was that young, but I saw him box Shaq, and then I knew who he was. And in the first season, Shaq went like 0-7, but in the second season, I think he got a few wins, and then that's all I got. It only got 2 seasons. So yeah. I'm on board. My only thing, the first thing I thought about, and maybe this is just conceited over here, Jeremy, conceited Cowboys fan, I want to see Dak Prescott in this thing. Ooh. I don't know. I'm not calling for replacement. This is like the NBA All-Star game conversation where people always say, well, this guy should be in, but I'm not calling for one of those guys to be replaced. I just want Dak a part of it. Maybe we could have 6 people. Maybe we could put Peyton Manning back into it. I don't know. Maybe that's my only thing, but I'm with it. I think it's fun.
Yeah, especially on June 1st in, again, what are kind of the dark ages of sports. I love the Dak Prescott idea. I do find it interesting as well that you could certainly make the case that on each team, you've got maybe the 2 best quarterbacks in each conference. You could argue Brady and Rodgers are the best of the NFC. Sorry, Dak. And I hope Dak plays so well this year that we can argue for him during and after the year. But Mahomes and Josh Allen, arguably the two best quarterbacks in the AFC, although Joe Burrow certainly his stock is ascending after taking the Bengals to the Super Bowl last year. And it's very possible that either one of those dudes from either conference is going to lead their team to the Super Bowl. I could see, Green Bay or Tampa Bay versus Kansas City or Buffalo in the Super Bowl, which is kind of cool. But I love your idea. Again, we'll bring Andy on. We'll get his thoughts. And again, I'm characterizing some semi tongue in cheek his position as being elitist. If I were going to clean that up a little bit, I'd say he's a golf purist, and we know that he loves golf, and he loves golf at a high level. And so he would much rather watch Tiger Woods or Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler or whoever's big in the game right now than these guys, or have a major one of those golfers involved with these guys. I get it. But doesn't mean we're not going to take him on. It looks like we're going to gang up on him 3-on-1 if he joins us this morning. We got a lot to cover. Coming up is your High Five play of the day. We will walk you through all the NBA playoff action from last night. You had 3 games last night, 3 more games tonight. We'll talk about those. You had a USFL game last night. Tampa Bay Bandits beat the Pittsburgh Maulers 17-3. We'll talk a little bit of USFL football. We'll certainly talk NFL and NFL draft as we are now down to single digits, 9 days away from the NFL draft, which is on April 28th, 9 days from now. We can't talk in football. We'll talk baseball as well. Dodgers, winningest team in baseball. They're 8-2. They've won 7 in a row. But interestingly, in that National League West, the San Francisco Giants right behind them, a half a game back at 7-2. They've won 5 in a row. And we'll see if we can get an understanding of how severe Jose Altuve's injury was last night to his foot for the first place Houston Astros after their 8-3 win over the Angels. Lots and lots and lots of sports to cover. We want to hear from you either on the phone line or the free iHeartRadio app where you've got the talkback feature, which I sometimes call the feedback feature just because my coffee doesn't kick in till maybe 7. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're with you till 9. The High Five play of the day is next. It's the Chris Duel Show. Well, Louisa, not interested in arrogant Aaron nor Brady. If I watch, it's to see Mahomes or Josh, but still think a major golf player should be a part of this. And again, that's kind of, I guess, aligned with Andy's argument. But major golf, I could also counter argue that we see major golf players every week at their major tournaments. Let's let the non-pros and the celebrities have a little fun amongst themselves. And again, it was a great example by Jeremy on Shaq versus, but again, I go way back to the Superstars competition in the early 1970s. See Tracy Bogart, good morning, with the Freddie Freeman story. Anthony Del Toro from Aranza's Pass. I'm jealous. Robert Browning, you're very funny. Welcome in, Robert. Anthony Del Toro again. Wes Perkins. Wes, I saw your tweet about Dick Vitale's take on the transfer portal. I shared that with Shannon and Jeremy. We'll talk about that. We'll cite your tweet. Sam Tobias, good morning. We said hi to Luisa. We said hi to Hector Gomez, I think. Good morning, Hector. Benito Castaneda, good morning. Kevin Monk, good morning. Yeah, there you go. Kevin citing the Altuve injury. It's a little scary. Lucinda Sullivan, the patron saint of coffee consumption. I've got to fill my coffee cup here in a moment. I will do that. Erie Moreno, good morning. Adam Alcocer, brisket, mac, and cheese from Bill Miller's? Or are we still doing Taco Tuesday? What's the real question here? That's what the real question is here. True. Wes, there's that Dick Vitale story. Yes, we will get to that. Jason Paniagua, buenos dias, mi amigo. Don Haas Holding, top of the morning. By the way, I may as well bring it out. We do have a Don Haas Holding t-shirt. I got another one at home I'm going to have to wear on the show again. I've done it before, but there is our Bryn Forbes modeling. Romping and stomping. The Don Haas Holding t-shirt. Professional wrestler. Great American. Wow. There, Tracy, you're taking it to a new level now. An all NFL tournament. Now, what the downside of that, I think, Tracy, is your winners wouldn't necessarily be Brady, Rodgers, Allen, Brady's, Rodgers, Allen, Mahomes. You know, probably some obscure offensive lineman from Carolina might win it. All right, let me send Andy Everett an email. I'm not going to text him at 6:30 because I got to check something here. Where is that? Okay, I got that. Let's do this.
Mary had a little gnat. Mary had a little gnat that flew around her home. Everywhere a Zevo blows, and everywhere a Zevo blows, the gnat was sure to go. Zevo traps use blue and UV light, not odors or chemical insecticides, to attract and trap flying insects. Just plug it in and trap bugs around the clock. Zivo, people friendly, bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
Kevin Monk, we got your talk back. We'll play it here. Beth Settle, good morning. Good morning, Beth. Kevin Monk, I'm going to write this if I have time. Bowie.
We're back. It's the Sweeney. Join in by dialing 1-800-707-9760.
Let's dance. Little David Bowie. This album for David was huge. Had Let's Dance, China Girl, Serious Moonlight, 1981. An absolute classic. Bowie was tremendous. We already got a feedback this morning from one of our listeners. It's a cool way you can talk to us instantly, and we play it on the air. In fact, we'll do that after the high five play of the day. Kevin Monk poses a very interesting question. You'll hear that. We'll react to it. If you want to talk to us instantly and sound off, a great way to do it. You go to the free iHeartRadio app. There's a little microphone button at the bottom of your smartphone on that screen when you listen to us via AM 1300 The Zone or Ticket 760. You press that microphone button. It gives you 30 seconds to sound off. Then you press send and boom, we get it, and we get it instantly, and we play it on the air. So we'll do that here in a little bit. I have emailed Andy Everett. We'll see if he replies. I'll text him after 7. I'm being polite not to text somebody before 7 a.m. One day, Shannon, we'll have to talk about texting etiquette. What time of day or night is it appropriate to send a text if it's not an emergency? I don't think you should I don't think you should text anybody before 7. I think a text at 6 or 6:30 in the morning is out of line.
What if you're replying to a text from the previous evening that you missed because you went to bed early because you wake up early, and then you wake up, you're like, oh no, I missed
If it's someone I know, I'll do that.
I'll reply.
If you wake me up because you text me past 8:30, I will then wake you up in the morning with a response when my alarm goes off.
That seems fair.
Yeah, see, I replied to like a Facebook message first thing in the morning because I assume that's not going to wake somebody up. But I used to sleep with my phone on until I started tracking all. Now I follow so many Twitter accounts for sports and news that my phone would vibrate all night long. So I turn it on airplane mode, but I don't assume other people do that. Tracy Bogert saying you should be free to text at any time. I just assume there are people who might use their phone as an alarm clock, and if you text them, you might wake them up. So I don't know, man. I try to be careful with that. But so applying that decorum, I will text Andy Everett at 7. If you're just tuning in, we read you Andy's Facebook take about the match featuring 4 NFL quarterbacks: Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers. Andy's not interested in watching. He says his handicap is better than any of those 4 quarterbacks. So we want to have a little friendly debate with Andy Everett. So we'll invite him on the show a little bit later in the show. Coming up, we will play you the talk back. The first one we got of the morning from a regular listener and viewer, Kevin Monk. It's interesting from what I'm told from Shannon, who's already heard it, but because she checked it, but we'll all hear it and you'll hear it. Coming up, we'll talk NBA playoffs, NFL draft, more about the match, Major League Baseball, big win for the Astros. They move back into first place in the AL West, but they lose Jose Altuve to injury. It's a foot injury. We don't yet know how serious it is. We will cover all of these stories and more, including USFL football. There was a game last night. Oh, and I did my homework last night. I actually did it during the day, Shannon. I took your advice. It was the first thing I did when I got home from work. I watched Winning Time, the latest episode, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. And I think it was Jason Paniagua yesterday on the live video feed saying Kyrie Irving would appreciate this episode. And now I fully understand what he meant. Shannon, did you do your homework? Did you see Winning Time?
I did do my homework. I did it.
Beautiful. Jeremy, did you do your homework or did the dog eat your homework?
No.
The no to the dog did not eat my homework because that's the last thing you asked.
Wow,
there. I did.
The three
I
of
watched
us.
it. Yeah, we are all.
See, usually I'm the slacker. Usually it's like you two have seen it by Tuesday. It's like, oh, I still got to watch it. So, wow, we're all caught up.
We are all caught up.
And it was, I think it was a very, very good episode. We'll walk you through the latest episode. And I did see at the very end, they have this little round table led by Rick Fox. There are only 3 episodes left of Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. We do, all 3 of us recommend it as viewing. And obviously, you don't have to be a Lakers fan. We're not, but it's pretty darn good. All right, coming up, we will play the latest talk back from Kevin Monk, who's going to join us, and I see him on the live video feed. You can talk back at us as well on the free iHeartRadio app. But right now, time for the High Five play of the day, appropriately sponsored by High Five, 2 locations in the Austin area. Shannon, tell the people about High Five.
A fantastic place to catch any and all sports. And if you want to try out your hand at golf, they've got an awesome Top Golf simulator. One thing you can't do, though, is run. You can't run miles in High Five. It's not really a workout facility. But a lot of people took to running yesterday with the Boston Marathon. I believe it was the 126th of that race. And a pretty incredible story. Listen, Chris, I'm not a runner. I went to the gym yesterday after our show. I do like the ellipticals. I'll do the bikes. I'll do the slides. I do not get on a treadmill. I do not go run outside. I do not know that I run to the fridge if I'm super hungry, to the bathroom for those moments we've all had in life, and if something is chasing me. That is it. There's no running for fun. But a lot of people do it. I'll never understand why. But there's this incredible woman by the name of Val Rogaszewski. And she is 75
Good
years
job.
old, sir. And not only did she run in the Boston Marathon and complete it in just over 6 hours yesterday, but she was one of the first women to run that race just 50 years ago when women were allowed to, which sounds crazy, allowed to run in a race.
It is crazy.
In 1972. So at 75 years old, she was back at it. Not only did she do it, but she completed it. That it's incredibly amazing. Again, I'm not a runner. I can barely run a mile. I don't even know if I can, to be honest with you. I can't do that. I'm not. How many miles is a marathon? Like 26 or something? That's
26.2.
It's a lot of miles, Chris. I couldn't do it. I don't even know if I could walk it, to be honest with you. So kudos and high five to her and to everyone who went out there and ran and finished the Boston Marathon. But to do it 50 years later at 75, outstanding.
Yeah, and I did run a bunch of marathons in my 20s. I was a running freak. I wasn't great at all. I was a recreational runner. I think my best time in a marathon was like 3 hours and 35 minutes. The elite runners run them, just a little over 2. But I did. It was interesting. In 2015, after not having run a marathon since the early 90s, and after back surgery, I ran the San Antonio Rock and Roll Marathon. And to run it in your 50s, it's like, oh my, everything hurt. I finished it, but barely. It took me like 6 hours. So for a 75-year-old, even though she was an elite runner and one of the 8 women to officially first run the Boston Marathon in 1972, huge mega kudos to her. And she ran with her daughters, which is so cool. She ran with 2 daughters, and they all finished. And what I think is fascinating, and you did say, Shannon, it is ridiculous that before 1972, women were not allowed to run in the Boston Marathon, only men. And there were a couple of women who ran it illegally. In 1966, a woman by the name of Bobby Gibb, B-O-B-B-I, Bobby Gibb, at the starting line, she put on a sweat jacket and a hoodie and kind of hid in there. She ran it, and she had to elude race officials who would pull her out of the race because she was a woman. And they said, oh, women aren't physiologically equipped to run a marathon. She ran it in 1966 unofficially and illegally, and she beat 2/3 of the male group of runners, the field of runners. And that was in 1966. Then another woman by the name of Catherine Switzer ran it in 1967 illegally. And men race officials were chasing her down, trying to pull her off the course as if she was some kind of criminal shoplifter or something. So the history of women in sports in general and women in the Boston Marathon is amazing, and it certainly is here. And certainly this story, Shannon, that you cite, this woman who ran it at age 75 with her 2 daughters yesterday, and they all finish. She was indeed one of the 8 original women when they allowed women in 1972. And again, you did a great pronunciation on the name, Val Rogaszewski, something along those lines. But man, to run and finish a marathon at age 75 is crazy. And huge props to her, and huge props to all women in sports who have had to put up with this crap for so long. And there's still lots of discrimination out there. So big hand to Val and all the ladies and the men. If you run a marathon, if you attempt it, first one I attempted, Shannon, I was an idiot. I was in really good shape. How old was I? I was 26 years old, 25, and I was in really good shape. I thought, 26.2. Yeah, I'm in good shape. I'm young. Let's go. At mile 13, every muscle in my thighs, every muscle in my calves, muscles I didn't even know I had in my ankles and my feet cramped, and I almost like went face down into the pavement. I had to get on. I had to do the walk of shame to the bus that drives you back to the starting line. And it was from that failure that I said, all right, damn it, I'm going to train for this and find a way to finish. It's great fun if you can do it. And I do recommend it because it's cool. But a big high five to Val and her daughters and to the pioneers and especially the women who fought for the right to run in the Boston Marathon and compete in sports. All right. We mentioned this and we love this feature. It's the talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app. And by the way, sometimes before sunrise, you might be listening on AM radio and the reception might not be crystal clear. Well, the reception is always crystal clear on the free iHeartRadio app. You download it. It's free. You search either AM 1300 The Zone, that's out of Austin, or Ticket 760, that's out of San Antonio. You can listen to us. You can ask for it on your smartphone if you want, but on your smart speaker like Alexa, but on your phone, you download that iHeartRadio app and you listen and you'll see a little microphone button and you press it and you can leave a 30-second message. If you're long-winded, leave us another one and just continue. But it's a 30-second message, then you press send and we get it instantly. It is way cool. And we, before even asking for it, and we're always asking for you to do this. But before we asked today, our good friend Kevin Monk, who joins us regularly on the live video feed, left us a feedback audio message. And here it is.
Good morning, Chris, Shannon, and Jeremy. It's Kevin Monk calling back again. I just kind of had an off-the-cuff thing. I was watching the Astros have their introductions, and I noticed, all the coaches wearing their uniforms, and I wondered, why is it that baseball is the only one that has uniforms? Why don't we have all the other ones in uniforms? I want to see Popovich wearing a jersey and shorts, and I want to see, Belichick on the sideline wearing pads. What do y'all guys think?
Shannon, it's a great take. He mentions Belichick. First guy I thought of was Mike McCarthy. Do you want to see lumbering bear Mike McCarthy in a Dallas Cowboys uniform on the sideline? Shannon, what do you think about this?
Well, when you put it that way, absolutely not. I kind of like the old school baseball where, the fedoras and the suits and all that, because sometimes when I see a manager, especially when they don't look like could actually take the field and play if they were needed, it kind of looks like an adult playing dress up, and Halloween only exists on one day of the year. But I do love the thought of, when you become a head coach or something of a team, your headshots also have to include what you would look like in the team uniform.
Yeah. It's odd. I like the baseball tradition. I can't see it in another sport. Jeremy KOLOK, how about you? Would you like to see Greg Popovich in a Spurs uniform on that sideline?
This is not anything that's ever crossed my mind before, so I don't think it's anything that I need in my, Spurs watching realm. I'm sure if Pop wants to, would the NBA really stop him if Popovich wanted to?
Probably not.
Well,
probably not. It isn't it.
I don't know. They're finding people for everything, so they might find a way.
Well, and Pop is kind of thin. Think of Mike Budenholzer. Mike is a little tubby, head coach of the Milwaukee Bucks. Mike Budenholzer in
have we ever seen the shins of Coach Pop?
I've seen him in shorts. I've seen him out there at practices and Olympic practices.
All right.
He actually runs like suicides up and down the court with the team in Olympic practices. So yeah, I mean, he's got very, very thin white legs, very pasty. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Yum.
But I'm just saying he could, I was about to say he could use some tanning, but who am I to give Greg Popovich tanning advice? What the hell do I know? Anyway. Pop's a stud, man, to this day. All right, coming up, lots more. Thanks for the feedback. You can give us your feedback. In fact, we'll pose some feedback questions to you coming up. Little Bowie on the way out. We'll talk NFL, NFL draft, NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, and more. Shannon's Salty Shakedown coming up in the 7 o'clock hour as well. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Yeah, there you go. Stan Van Gundy. That's a good one, Jason. Okay. 6:54 at 7. I will text Andy Everett. I'm going to grab some coffee, which I have yet to do in the last hour plus. All right. Kevin Monk, excellent job. We love it when you guys leave us a feedback message. It was very good, Kevin, and we had fun with it, man. So we like random sports thoughts. Steve DiRocco, the original rock, the original Italian stallion, co-founder of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club. Steve DiRocco, I was at the pool yesterday, and I did not go in the water. I just hung out and read some books by the pool. But a couple showed up, and you would have recognized them. They've shown up before. They're very nice. And they then walked up to the water. They sat down on the edge of the pool, and the young lady put her legs in the water up to her knees, sitting on the edge, and she shrieked about how cold the water was. I should have said to them, this is a job for Steve DiRocco of the San Antonio Polar Bear Club. Rock has no fear of cold water. See, I think I'm going to make the poll question about Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Let's see here. Tweet. Okay, that is June 1st. Let's see. Okay. Will you watch the match featuring Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen playing golf for charity on June 1st? Okay, there it is. Oh. All right, it's 7 o'clock. So now I can text Andy Everett. Let's see, he wrote us back an email yet, which he has not. Benny Bash liked our video this morning. Benny Bash out of Colorado Springs. So, Jason, you raised a good question. I like that. Golfers playing football for charity. Excellent. All right. Let me write Mr. Everett. Need to turn on my Bluetooth for my keyboard. It makes my life easier. There we go. I use when I text, I use a Bluetooth Apple portable keyboard. It's just, I don't like texting with my fingers and my thumbs. I can just jam on a keyboard and it's faster, it's easier. So your
Mom's got Ziva when they come hurrah, hurrah. We used to spray and rush away, but Ziva lets us stay and play. Since it won't fog up the room, but the bugs will still meet their doom. Boom, boom, boom. Beat bugs with Zivo. It uses essential oils that attack bugs' biological systems. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zivo, people friendly, bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
KOLOK is the one-stop shop for pricing, fixing, and selling. Instant Cash Offer. Instant Cash Offer is exactly what it sounds like. An official offer to buy or trade your car. Just think of your VIN or license plate. Answer a few questions about your car's history. Then what kind of condition is it? In minutes, you receive.
all right. Text sent to Andy Everett.
Then choose a dealer to purchase your car and schedule a time to meet.
Okay, now let me make sure that poll came out correctly. Whoops. One vote in, 100% no. One person will not watch the match. Maybe Andy's already voted. Good morning, Ralph Balderas. See, now that's even better, Louisa. That is a brilliant idea. Tony Romo as a commentator on that golf match. Perfect. And he would be chomping at the bit because he knows he's a better golfer than those four guys. I like it, though. Here we come. I got to mute microphones briefly for our evil Facebook overlords. Not today, Zuckerberg. Woo! Ralph Balderas, good morning. Oh. To the other side.
Now, Chris Duel.
It is a Taco Tuesday, April 19th. Lots and lots going on in the world of sports as we are now just number nine. That's my Revolution number 9 Beatles White Album homage. 9 days away from the NFL draft. More football is good football. Football is the greatest sport on the face of this earth. With no disrespect to other sports, we talked Boston Marathon already this morning. We talked baseball. We talked NBA playoffs. We'll talk even more as we got 3 NBA playoff results last night, 3 more games tonight. We got a USFL result last night. Astros beat the LA Angels 8-3 to move back into first place in the American League West. But Jose Altuve leaves the game with an injured foot. We'll keep an eye on that. Yordan Alvarez, 2 two-run home runs last night for the Astros. That's a beautiful thing. So we'll get into all things sports. We did talk, and we'll talk more, and I did text Andy Everett to see if he wants to come on and get ganged up on, because Shannon, Jeremy, and I are excited and will watch the match June 1st for charity. Golf and banter and trash talking as Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady will take on Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen, 4 of the last 5 MVP quarterbacks in the NFL. Shannon Luisa Alanis writes on our live video feed, and I kind of like it. She says, I'll watch the match if Tony Romo is the match commentator. I like that idea a lot.
Well, and if I'm not mistaken, and this is just based off of March Madness knowledge of everything being either on CBS or TNT, that they are a part of that same grouping that would allow Tony Romo of CBS to potentially call something on TNT. I like the idea.
Man, that would be cool.
I think he'd have a fun take, just given his obvious NFL background and his desire to one day call the Masters. You got to start somewhere.
Ooh. Yeah. Get a little taste of his golf calling prowess. And as we know from previous episodes over the years of the match, you know, the broadcasters will talk in real time to the golfers, and to have another NFL quarterback talk to these NFL quarterbacks, that'd be cool to hear not only their banter and trash talking, but to hear their give and take with Tony Romo. And obviously, you know, Romo's a prolific golfer, certainly as NFL quarterbacks go. So I think we could all agree Romo's a better golfer than any of the 4 of them. So Shannon, I would have mentioned, imagine he would be chomping at the bit to want to be, you know, out there with them playing golf. He'd somewhere down the line, he'd be a fun choice for this match. Involve him somehow. Although, you know, you bring on those other quarterbacks, it might not be a fair fight. Well,
and while you're at it, just go ahead and throw in new announcer and also former Dallas Cowboys head coach Jason Garrett. He's in the announcing game. They'd have good banter. They're the best of buds. And if Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers were wanting to win, they would listen to nothing that Jason says, because he makes the wrong calls.
Oh, we just got another great comment. Ed Shannon on the live video feed about Romo being the commentator for golf says Romo would be great unless the match went to a playoff. Oh no, you didn't. Shots fired, Ed. Very funny. I like that. That was one of the funnier comments thus far this morning. Shannon Salty Sweeney. I watched a little bit USFL football last night. Tampa Bay Bandits score early and then play a lot of good defense. They beat the Pittsburgh Maulers in USFL action 17-3. I was listening to the show that precedes us, the national show, Two Pros and a Cup of Joe. And one of that trio was lamenting the fact that, and it wasn't Brady Quinn because Brady was defending the USFL and the television angle and revenues and ratings that are necessary. Again, what was glaring last night and throughout much of the weekend, and what I don't like about the USFL in this incarnation, playing all the games at a stadium in Birmingham, Alabama, and there just weren't that many fans in the stands last night. And you think about it, Shannon, one of the teams is the Birmingham Stallions. So obviously the hometown, the crowd was the best the first game of the weekend, which was Birmingham Stallions versus the New Jersey Generals. So, think about it. If this were in San Antonio and it was the San Antonio Commanders and all teams played at the Alamo Dome and there's 4 games in a weekend, which game am I going to go to? Or if the game was in Austin and Austin had a team, and there was one game involving Austin's USFL team, and then 3 other games over, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. And this Monday game wasn't scheduled. It was postponed from Sunday due to weather. It makes total sense that, your hardcore fans aren't going to every game.
Yeah.
They're going to pick one, and they're probably going to pick the home team. I do think that's one of the flaws inherent, and I'm trying hard to love it. And more football is good football, but I think playing all the games in Birmingham is not the best idea.
Yeah, and you mentioned Birmingham, who obviously, being the hometown team, they had them open the USFL season playing Saturday, and the ratings are in for that. And while it peaked at 3.5 million viewers, they had a good hold with both that broadcast being on NBC and Fox at about 3 million viewers, which is what they projected, which I'm, with everything going on sports wise, baseball is back in action, NBA playoffs and NHL. I haven't compared that to any NBA games that might've been going on at the same time, what those numbers look like. And obviously 3 million is nothing compared to what an NFL game gets. But I think it goes to the point of football, more football, good football. People are willing to turn on the TV and watch. It'll be interesting to see what changes, if at all, but with those numbers come next weekend.
And again, if you think about it, and yes, going up against the NBA playoffs over the weekend, among other sports, and as Jeremy told us yesterday, he's a hardcore NBA guy. So given the choice, he watched NBA playoff action instead of USFL football. Absolutely understandable. But I agree with you, Shannon, for a startup league. And again, you look at the star power in the USFL, there ain't much. Paxton Lynch, there's not a lot of star power, at least yet, in the USFL. You could argue maybe the coaches like Jeff Fisher and Todd Haley, and those even aren't very big names, but we've heard of them as coaches in the league, going up against people like Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving and Steph Curry and the NBA. It shouldn't even be a conversation. But I do think if you're an advertiser, and this is where a lot of the fuel for the USFL is coming, if you can get 3 million eyes on your product, and you're buying ads in the USFL games, then you might be willing to do that. And that might be a cost benefit for you and a return on your investment. And that was the argument Brady Quinn was making when Jonas Knox, who is on that show, was saying, it looks ridiculous with nobody being in the stands, pretty much virtually nobody in the stands. But the argument that Brady Quinn, a former NFL quarterback, made was, it's not necessarily about the fans in the stands. It's about the ratings. It's about starting up this league, putting it out there. It's about advertising and TV revenues. And maybe, Shannon, it's one of these things. If you build it, they will come. Obviously, your hardcore football fans like you and me are going to sample it, if not sample it and hang out and watch it. And if it's good, it can hopefully build. And if the starting point is 3 million fans, and if it begins to build momentum from there, I think that'll be good for the USFL. A lot of people do like innovations, like the helmet cam. That's the helmet cam's kind of cool. You see, there was one cool interception last night where you saw the ball come right into the hands of the defensive back. He grabs the ball, he rolls to the ground. So you saw that and other plays on the helmet cam. But as somebody said yesterday as well, and I think one of the issues, they wire multiple players for sound, and when the quarterback is calling signals at the line of scrimmage, they've got the volume up, the level up so high on the quarterback, it overshadows and overwhelms the broadcasters a bit. It's kind of cool hearing the quarterback call the signals, but after a while, if the broadcasters are good and have something to say, somebody there in the technical director's booth needs to modulate and tweak sound between on the field and the quarterback and the broadcasters, I think.
Yeah, and I think that'll be something we see over time, right? And I haven't tuned back into like an Apple Plus Friday night baseball game, but I would figure USFL, much like what ESPN is doing and Apple TV, they're trying to innovate and create something new, but that obviously is going to take some naysayers out there, kind of giving their 2 cents and finding what works and what's the right fit, especially with this league that is so innovative. And you mentioned those cameras and the added bonuses that come with it. What gets taken away, what needs to stay. Good. And we talked about it a lot, especially with Bill Schoening, of like letting the call, the call, and then letting it breathe in real time and hearing the crowd. Well, there is no crowd there, really. I mean, there is, but not really. So I guess maybe some of them feel like there's a void that needs to be filled that maybe other arenas don't need as much. But it'll probably get better. I would hope it would get better for this league to continue to see success in the ratings.
Yeah, let me ask Jeremy. And Jeremy, you told us yesterday, and we totally get it. And probably a lot of people feel the way you do. You had a choice between NBA playoff action over the weekend and even last night, opposite the USFL game that was moved to Monday night on FS1, and you went for the NBA playoffs. Do you have an interest in sampling the USFL if it's not conflicting with something you're more interested in sampling sports-wise on TV?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's just the time conflict that is, like you mentioned, just this is the time of the year for pro basketball. So I don't want to put it like they have to earn my my watching. They have to earn the ability to entertain me, but it's just kind of like more of a I'll just wait and see. You know what I mean? I'm on board with the idea, but I'll just wait and see. I'll see what people like you and Shannon say after week 1 and maybe even week 2. You're the hardcore football people, as you put it. And, if y'all have good things to say or even just decent things to say, because, it could still be a little bit of a work in progress. I'm not against it at all. I'm very willing to give it a chance.
Yeah, you just had more exciting choices that you were down with. One other thing I will mention about the USFL, Shannon, you look at the standings, there's 2 divisions. There's 8 teams in the USFL. There is a North Division and a South Division in the USFL. And after 1 week, everybody in the South Division won. They're all 1-0, and everybody in the North Division lost, and they're 0-1. And living in the South, I kind of like that. But in the North Division, everybody 0-1. New Jersey Generals, Pittsburgh Panthers, Philadelphia Stars, and the Pittsburgh Maulers. None of them won. And in the South Division, everybody 1-0. Tampa Bay Bandits, New Orleans Breakers, Houston Gamblers, and the Birmingham Stallions. So for those of you who still have an axe to grind after the Civil War, the South may have risen again, Shannon, in the USFL. Maybe that's the way they could sell it. Get some dudes on TV waving Confederate flags, or not. Maybe that's not such a good idea. maybe that wouldn't be cool for the
Maybe
USFL as a marketing idea.
Maybe let's not
No.
do that.
Okay. Yeah, not okay. Maybe if you're brainstorming Fox Sports 1 and NBC and USA Network, maybe not. Let's pass on that idea. You did mention Apple TV Plus and some of their sports coverage. Shannon, as you mentioned in our show prep, a story you're tracking Apple TV Plus, which has Major League Baseball now on Friday nights. And again, more ways for me to watch Astros baseball when the Astros are on is a good thing. It's kind of hard to find Astros games if you live in San Antonio or Austin or outside of Houston. So I was happy on opening night to have Astros baseball, or at least the Friday of opening weekend, to find Astros baseball on Apple TV Plus. But apparently they are going to expand their sports coverage, we are told. That could be very, very cool.
Yeah, they're likely to end up with the NFL Sunday ticket. And that's not a package that I've ever had, but it's my understanding that it was something that was available. You had to have cable in order to get it. And so many people, recently myself, have cut cable. And so they didn't have access. And so they're basically, I guess, Apple TV and whoever else is bidding to now have the app version of the NFL Network. And as we just talked about, the numbers for this USFL league were great, but they don't compare to what you get with the NFL. And so I think it'd be a huge win for Apple TV Plus to not only connect itself with the NFL, but also to have that sports package to bring viewers in to continue with their promotion of live sports. And we talked a couple weeks ago about how Bose no longer going to be on the sidelines on the headsets. They may still use or could still use the actual Bose headphones, but they don't have to have that ad placement. Apple, obviously big into the audio game. Could be interesting to see if they get even more involved with the NFL as time goes on.
Yeah, I think, and as you describe it, Shannon, you cut cable like so many people have. I mean, I'm considering it. I'm getting closer and closer. And most of what I watch is streaming. Most of what I watch is Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus. So, and I've got Apple TV Plus as well. So for more and more people to have the option. And again, the beauty there is versus your cable is wherever you go on your smart device or on your iPad. You could be on a bus, you could be at a park, you could be at work, whatever you're doing. You whip out your smartphone or your iPad or whatever it may be, and you can watch the game, which is you may be at a restaurant with family, and it's like, I want to watch the game. And I think as well, and Shannon, we talked about this with regard to concessions. NFL Sunday Ticket, and a lot of it was even offered on satellite television. I remember when I looked into it years ago, I couldn't even get it on my cable system. I had to go get a satellite dish to get it, which I chose not to do. That was extra expense. But in the same way, we've talked about concessions and how food and drink are so much cheaper at the Masters than at many sporting events, like at Jerry World, where a hot dog will run you $10.50 and a beer will run you $17 probably. I think if the NFL does this correctly for NFL Sunday Ticket, I in addition to maybe offering a blanket seasonal price that you would pay to have NFL Sunday Ticket on Apple TV Plus or on a streaming platform, so many times that there'll be a game that I'll go, damn, we don't get that game in San Antonio or in Austin. I'd really like to see that Chiefs versus Patriots game. And to have the option, even like pay-per-view, if it were reasonable, if it were like, yeah, you can see that game for $5. It's like, I'll throw down $5 to see an NFL game I really, really want to see, or whatever, $10, whatever it is. I really think this could even open up a bigger revenue stream for the NFL, and in this case for Apple, because as you mentioned, the demand for NFL football is so huge.
Well, and that makes me wonder, I found this Anchor Bar out in Round Rock, which is a chain that stems from Buffalo. So they're a Buffalo Bills establishment. and they are more of a chain, but there are a lot of local bars around town that pride themselves on, we are where you will always be able to watch the Steelers or always be able to watch the Saints because we pay for these packages. So come in and watch. And so people who have cut cable or cheer for those teams and want to cheer with like-minded folk can go there. I wonder if the accessibility of games from across the country as they become more available to folks inside their home, if that will then end up hurting, those local bars that like NFL Sundays are their days to shine because they are used to having games that most people don't get on their own.
It's a great question. And again, you mentioned the community or communal aspect of watching the games with fans. I think about either Spurs games in San Antonio or Longhorns games in Austin, and a lot of times while there are fans who will go to the game, either at DKR or in San Antonio, go to Spurs games at the AT&T Center, there are still sports bars where, people just are hardcore Longhorn fans or hardcore Spurs fans and still want to go to a sports bar to be part of that group. So I would hope not, because obviously we want bars and sports bars to survive and thrive. And there's nothing like, if you're into it, going with your friends and joining other fans and cheering your team, hopefully onto victory. It's a fun thing. But it is an interesting question. I would imagine there would be a certain level of erosion. I mean, if I really want to see this game and I can't get it, but I know I can go to Anchor Bar and get it, I'm going to Anchor Bar. But if I'm home where the beer is a lot cheaper,
right,
maybe I do make that decision.
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Football games are long.
All righty. Woo! Can't. But I just love the idea of getting any game I want wherever I want. Sometimes you have to go to a wedding or you have to go
I was
to an
gonna
event.
say, people who put weddings on game days
and to just have it in your hand. It's like, what's he looking at? Isn't he supposed to be watching the ceremony? No, I got a game to watch. Coming up, Shannon's Salty Shakedown. We'll see if Andy Everett has answered the call here as the three of us want to debate him on Andy Everett's proclamation. He does not want to watch the match between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. We have invited Andy to join us and speak for himself. We'll talk about that. More talk of the NBA playoffs, NFL draft. We got to get into that. The latest from the NFL coming at you. As I mentioned, Shannon's Salty Shakedown is next, along with sports history, sports birthdays, and more. You're invited always to join us on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. And you can sound off immediately right now on the free iHeartRadio app. There is a talkback feature, a little microphone at the bottom of the screen where you can give us feedback and sound off on any issue that you are passionate about immediately. We get it immediately. We play it on the air and react to it. With you till 9. Thanks for hanging out with us on the Chris Duel Show. Sam Tobias, I wonder if Romo would tell Garrett the truth about his coaching. Probably not. I think he'd be polite. But you never know. After a couple of cocktails, anything's possible. Let's see what else is going on here. All right, let me see. I've got to bang out a couple of commercial spots for R&R Auto Glass for next week. See if I've got that. Copy. All right. Let me see. See, I got to do 3 of these. They're 30-second spots. So I talk real fast because I want to get as much information in as I can in 30 seconds. See if I got a reply from Andy Everett. No reply from Andy Everett.
Jake from State Farm here. Some other car insurance companies are increasing their rates in your state. But don't worry, if your bill's going up, switch to State Farm for surprisingly great rates. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call or visit statefarm.com for a quote today.
When you fail to prepare, you're prepared to fail. Be ready for all situations with Armed Forces Supply, the largest military surplus supplier in San Antonio.
All right, let me see here. Do I have time for this? I think I do. Hey, Jeremy, I'm going to record some spots. I don't think you have me up, but just in case. All right, let's see here.
Beat bugs with Zevo. It uses essential oils.
Here we go. Chris here for the good folks at R&R Auto Glass. It's where I take my vehicle. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, window regulators, camera calibration, all with a lifetime warranty and customer service through the roof. UTSA senior and military discount. Ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money off the already low pricing. They've even got a mobile service. They can come to you if you need them to. Everything's at the website, rnrautoglass.com. R&R Auto Glass. 2 more. Chris here for R&R Auto Glass. They are the best, been around since 2006. They will always be here for you. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, window regulators, camera calibration, all with a lifetime warranty, customer service through the roof, UTSA senior and military discount. Ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money. They've got a mobile service. They can come to you if that's what you need. Go see the website, rnrautoglass.com. All the info there for you. R&R Auto Glass. Una más. Chris here for R&R Auto Glass. They are the best. It's where I take my vehicle. They can replace any piece of glass on your vehicle, window regulators, camera calibration, all with a lifetime warranty, customer service through the roof, UTSA senior and military discount. Speaking of discount, ask them about the Duel deal. Save even more money off the already low pricing. They've got a mobile service. They can come to you if you need them to. Go see the website, rnrautoglass.com. All the info is there, R&R Auto Glass. Woohoo! Got them done. All right. Here we come. All right.
Let's get back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Salty on Twitter, @ChrisDuel and @Shannon B. Sweeney.
Welcome back on this Taco Tuesday, April 19th. Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney. Already got feedback this morning on the free iHeartRadio app. You are invited to sound off. Are you digging USFL football? Are you going to watch the match with Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen? Andy Everett refuses to watch. It's not the kind of golf he's into. I have sent an email and a text to Andy Everett. Shannon, as Genesis once sang, Phil Collins on lead vocals, no reply at all from Andy Everett. I don't know if he's busy, if he's asleep, if he's big timing us.
He left you on
I don't
red.
know. He's angry. Wow. Yeah. Maybe he's blocked me. Maybe I'm blocked by Andy Everett for my outrageous golf views. Anyway,
Sorry.
we'll see. We'll try to get Andy on here in the 8 o'clock hour to speak for himself, and the three of us are going to gang up on him and say, "Come on, we're going to watch." So anyway, you can sound off on that on the free iHeartRadio app. We've also got a poll question we will outline for you here in a little bit as well. We are talking NBA playoffs. We're talking NFL and NFL draft. We're talking about the match with those NFL quarterbacks. We're talking Major League Baseball. Astros beat the Angels last night 8-3, moved back into first place in the AL West, but Jose Altuve leaves the game with a foot injury. That's a little frightening. We talked some USFL as well. Oh, and we will get into Winning Time. It was a very good episode, I thought. The rise of the Lakers dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. Only 3 episodes left this season. I saw Wes Perkins mention on the live video feed he is going to binge watch Winning Time so he can catch up with us. We won't totally give you spoilers that'll wreck it for you. We wouldn't do that. We're not into that. Shannon's Salty Shakedown is moments away, but first, how about some sports birthdays and this day in sports history? This day in 1960, April 19th, 1960, baseball started doing something new with the uniforms. They started putting players' names on the back of the uniforms. Before this time, there were no names on the back of the uniforms. USC, my football team, Alma, they still don't put names on the back of the uniforms. They say, hey, man, it's about team. It's not about you, Reggie Bush, and your parents with that condo that nearly wrecked the program forever. Not that I'm bitter. This day in 1981, the Oakland A's ran their season opening record to 11-0. Not a bad start for the Oakland A's back in 1981. On this day in 1986, Michael Spinks beat Larry Holmes in 15 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title of the world. It was Larry Holmes who brutalized Muhammad Ali in Ali's last fight in 1980. And finally, on this day in 1991, another big boxing match with 2 big names. Evander Holyfield beat George Foreman in 12 rounds for the heavyweight boxing title. George Foreman decided to go into grilling after that and naming all of his kids George Foreman. That's your sports history. How about some sports birthdays? Born on this day in 1936, College Football Hall of Fame linebacker. I think he's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I could be wrong. And coach. He was the first coach of the Houston Gamblers of the USFL back in 1983. Jack Pardee. Jack Pardee also coached the Houston Oilers. Jack Pardee was born in Exeter, Iowa. Is this heaven? No, it's Iowa. Jack Pardee died in 2013. Where were you in 62? Born on this day in 1962, American auto racer Al Unser Jr., son of Al Unser. He won the Indianapolis 500 in 1992 and 1994. Al Unser Jr. was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Born on this day in 1981, you got to love his hair. Troy Polamalu, Hall of Famer. In fact, he was just inducted this summer. I saw it at Canton. Pittsburgh Steelers. USC Trojan, Troy Polamalu. Fight on. Head and Shoulders shampoo huckster, Troy Polamalu. He was born in Garden Grove, California. And finally, born on this day in 1987, one of my favorite tennis players ever, Maria Sharapova, Russian. She was born in Nyagan, Russia. She won 5 Grand Slam singles titles. One of my reasons that Maria Sharapova was one of my favorite tennis players ever, she wouldn't just give you a high level of tennis. She would give you sound effects. Whenever Maria Sharapova would hit the ball, she would often go, yeah! Yeah! She used to drive her opponents crazy. Can you, Judge? Can you tell her to shut up? Like when Maria Sharapova played, man, I was there for the sound effects as much as the tennis. There she is. Listen to that. I guess that would become annoying if you were on the other side of the net. But for me, it was must-see. I don't know why. For me, I just put the remote control down and said, I don't know why. For some reason, I'm really enjoying this tennis match. Those are your sports birthdays. That's your sports history. Jeremy KOLOK, right on it. I didn't even tell him to do the Sharapova drop, but he did it. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends, Romans, countrymen, farm animals, and monkeys, and don't forget the pole assassins, here it is, your Taco Tuesday Salty Shakedown.
Chris, let's start with one of our favorite sports of all time. Hockey. Let's do that hockey right here on the Chris Duel Show.
Yes.
Seattle has themselves a new hockey team in the Krakens, and it seems to be the way now when new sports teams are introduced, whether it's Austin FC with Matthew McConaughey in Austin or the plethora of celebrities who are backing the new LA women's soccer pro team. Celebrities, I guess they just have too much money, Chris. Forget the inflation, forget the gas price, forget all of it. We still have too much money, so let's invest to make more money. Let's do it in sports teams. And so the Kraken have 2, I guess you can call them celebrities. I mean, it's up to you where they fall on that scale. But Macklemore and Marshawn Lynch have joined the Seattle Kraken as minority owners. Marshawn Lynch will be part of their campaign. Hockey is for everyone. And I guess if Marshawn Lynch can't convince you to like some hockey, to enjoy some hockey, then you probably aren't going to be convinced. I'm curious if Marshawn even knew what hockey was before becoming a minority owner. But there is a video of him driving a Zamboni around, and that may have been all it was to convince him to go ahead and shell out some cash for this. Now, Chris, do you know who Macklemore is?
I vaguely have heard the name, but I can't like recite to you who Macklemore is. Help me out on that.
He is a rapper. Jeremy can help me out on the years. It was a handful of years ago. He had Thrift Shop was his main hit. You know, and that's where the kids just started to go to the thrift shops, like it was something that normal people didn't already do. But he's part of it too. I don't know if this is going to be a continued trend at some point, if celebrities will find something else to put their money into. I can't decide if I like it yet or not. But if you're the Seattle Kraken and these are your two guys, are you okay with that, Chris? Are they cool enough for you, or is there anyone else in the Seattle area or formerly of the Seattle area where you're like, you should get in on this? We need you to be the face of this franchise, even though you don't play on the team.
Wow, that's a great question. Because I'm not hip to Macklemore, if you're into rap more than I am, maybe that's cool. A Beast Mode, though, that's pretty cool. Now he's famous for not wanting to give interviews. I guess now that he can make some money, mate. But him riding the Zamboni, that's a visual. I think that's cool. So I think celebrity ownership is fun. In the same way, I think celebrity golf matches are fun. So you just hope that they're serious about it if you're a fan of that team, and that they're going to want to win championships with their participation and their money. So. I think it's cool. Nobody is coming to me. Yeah, if Russell Wilson left town, if Russell Wilson were still in Seattle, you'd probably want him. I'm trying to think of maybe a great Seattle Supersonic that was on one of those teams, maybe. But
yeah, Kevin Durant.
George Karl used to be the coach, so yeah, maybe. Yeah, Kevin Durant, maybe.
All right, moving on to the food portion of our program today. Chris, as we know, the USFL kicked off over the weekend. And, we were looking for stars and guys to get attached to that we either knew from college or maybe a short stint in the NFL. Well, Davion Smith, who was a standout running back for the Michigan Wolverines from 2013 to 2016, was on the Pittsburgh Maulers. And I say was because he was fired, told to go home for violating the code of conduct set by Kirby Wilson, specifically line 46 of the team handbook. Any disrespect of football or members, staff, hotel, etc. will not be tolerated. This instance had to do with the player. They were serving chicken salad. He doesn't like chicken salad, so he asked if he could have a slice of pizza when he saw pizza. They said no. The folks said, well, is that going to be a problem? He said, well, yeah, because I don't like chicken salad. But then he said, okay, and he moved on. Apparently that was enough to violate the handbook. I'll let Davion Smith tell you for himself, because he tried to plead with the coach saying, I don't think I was disrespectful. So here's that interaction just after Davion was told that he was going to be released from the team.
I can tell you what happened exactly.
It's not important right now.
Right.
It's not important.
I don't know.
It's already happened.
Right.
It's already happened.
I didn't say anything disrespectful. He said, is that going to be a problem? I said, yes. That's it. I walked away. I didn't think that was disrespectful. Me saying, yes, I don't eat chicken salad. And I was like, is there another option? Walked in with pizza. And I was like, can I get a slice of pizza? He said, no. I was like, he said, is that going to be a problem? I said, yes. That's all I said. I didn't say no cuss word, nothing. That's all I said. I promise you, no disrespectful on my dad's life. I promise you I didn't say nothing disrespectful besides yes.
And I appreciate you sharing that. But the matters, it's done. It's done.
Coach Wilson, I get you have this code of conduct in your little handbook and you want to, make sure that everyone is abiding by it as such. But I don't know that this is a fireable offense. If anything, a warning if you really do feel like he was disrespectful to staff members. Because, to be fair, like these football players, obviously they're not at that NFL level where they can really get anything they want, but they need to be nourished and nutrition. And for whatever reason, he just doesn't eat chicken salad, and there was pizza right there. But can you imagine this guy having to call his mother and say, hey, Mom, don't fly out to Birmingham. I'm not on the team anymore. Well, what happened? Are you hurt? Did you get injured? No, I got fired over a slice of pizza. Chris, your reaction to this?
Well, and just listening to him, if what he is saying is true, and it sounded true to me, you've gone to, maybe the coach wanted to cut this guy. Maybe there were other incidents, and this was the last straw. I don't know. But you make a great point, Shannon. A lot of these guys, this is their last hope. Football is their dream. And they are trying to still achieve their dream. And man, if the Iowa Barnstormers didn't give Kurt Warner a shot in the Arena League, he wouldn't be in the Hall of Fame and he wouldn't have won a Super Bowl. I just feel bad for a young man who maybe really got screwed over here, did not really violate the spirit of what that rule is, and is now being railroaded and forced off that team. And it's that video, by the way, was shown on national television. That video was shown in a pregame over the weekend for one of the USFL games, almost like a Hard Knocks moment. So not only did he get fired over something he feels is wrong, Shannon, you're then fired on national television to add insult to injury.
And how about Wilson saying it doesn't matter what you say right now, it's already happened? Give the guy a chance. I think Davion will probably find another landing spot, and Wilson's going to have to maybe relax a little bit on that handbook. Now, continuing with food, as we know, it is the spring. Texas will take on the orange and white spring game this weekend. Alabama has already held theirs. And, when Tom Herman was head coach at the University of Texas, there was a lot of talk about his management style and the ways he handled practice, and specifically in the mornings. The side that lost morning practice had to drink water from the hose and eat cold runny eggs for breakfast, while the other half got a hot breakfast. And people weren't really cool with that because it was practice. These guys need to be nourished correctly, and it's just practice. But for the purposes of a spring game, Nick Saban wants to make sure that his guys are putting on a show and putting on 100% of effort and taking it as a glorified practice. And so for that, the winner of the Crimson v. White game in Alabama gets a steak dinner along with cake, while the losing team gets white bread, a Frank's Link, so a little hot dog on white bread, and beans. All right. And then they're in a cafeteria, and the cafeteria is divided by some of those, like Hollywood rope type deals. And there's now video out there of Nick Saban sitting on the losing side, chatting with the player, when a victory-sided player comes by to try to hand the player that Nick Saban is sitting next to a piece of cake. Nick Saban shuts it down. No cake for this guy. He's on the losing side. That cake is for you. And now there's also rumor that the guy who tried to slide over the piece of cake is going to be punished. I don't know if that'll hold true or not, because he's already embarrassed, as this little video here has taken the internet by storm with thousands of views. I mean, getting denied passing a piece of cake to your buddy, that's pretty embarrassing. But what do you think about this as far as how it pertains to a spring game and in the fact that it's Nick Saban doing it?
Yeah, Nick Saban knows what Nick Saban's doing, Shannon. And I think in college, as long as the losing team's food isn't disgusting and substandard, I think it's I think it's a good reward. It's like, you guys get really good food. You guys get cake. You guys are the losers. You sit over here. You get adequate food. I think it's good. I mean, we all went through, some initiations in college. I went through a hell week once. So I think it's probably good. And if Nick Saban does it, it's probably, probably kosher, I would think.
I'm easily motivated by cake, so I would give 150% during that spring game if given the chance. There it is, today's Salty Shakedown.
Outstanding Salty Shakedown. Yeah, the guy who was cut for the pizza, Devian, maybe Little Caesars, and maybe he gets a pizza endorsement. I hope somebody gives him another shot in football. I hope somebody looks into it. And again, the worst part of that was he was cut/fired on national television with cameras on him, which is rough. And coming up, yes.
Go ahead. Sorry,
Go ahead.
We're short on time.
All right, okay. Yeah, we'll catch up. We're up against it, so lots more coming up. NFL, Major League Baseball, NBA playoffs, and we'll see if Andy Everett shows up. We're with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. There you go, John Williams. Slop on Big Brother. And I that's a really good reference. If I would have thought of that, I would have mentioned it. All right, let me edit my spots. See if I got a reply from Andy Everett. Yes. Andy can do 8:05. He needs to be out by 8:20. So cool. So do you have his number in case he doesn't call us? Okay, cool. Let me see here. Andy Everett will join us and express his distaste for the match. Okay, now I need to do this. Let me see here. Huh. That's what's going on. Okay. All right, that one's too long. Ah. All right, let's see here. I now got to email this. right.
Dig your vinyl, man. My partner doesn't. Call it time. Like it. Don't give it up. State Farm has options to get you a surprisingly great rate. Rock on. Like your neighbor, State Farm is there. Call it a State
All
Farm
right.
today.
We're close to Andy Everett telling us why we should not watch the match. Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Shannon, Jeremy, and I disagree with Andy Everett. I should plug in my phone. Woo! Woo! Carl, I did see that, and then I got sidetracked. That is amazing. I was at Texas Stadium in 1976 when the Cowboys had the red, white, and blue stripe on the helmet when they played the Eagles, and he played in that game. That's a big deal. I did see the movie Invincible. So I'll try to get to that on the air. Carl, that's a great comment. And great information that I did not otherwise know about. So thanks for letting me know. See, and that's what I look for, like in a USFL or in any sport, is storylines, and that's a cool storyline. Yep, I did see it, and I saw his dad play, as I mentioned, in person at Texas Stadium with Steve Duraco. Who else was on that trip? Jeff Blevins, another guy I grew up with. All right. Okay, Andy has to be somewhere. So, John, and that speaks to the Superstars competition, which I mentioned. Absolutely. And basketball is another. Tony Romo, if he ever played. Romo was a great basketball player in high school. Delaware University. Very interesting. Cool. Here we go.
This is the
I'm gonna mute for a moment for the evil Facebook overlords. Andy Everett about to join us. See if I can find my Andy Everett. There he is.
now, Chris Duel.
It is a Taco Tuesday, April 19th. So much going on in the world of sports. We are all over it. Shannon, Salty, Sweeney, Soundscape Stylist, Jeremy KOLOK, and myself. And in a moment, our golf guru and the voice of UTSA athletics, Andy Everett. Throughout the 8 o'clock hour, as always, you are invited to join us on the phone lines, 800-707-9760. You can also sound off instantly on anything either we say or anything that's on your mind on the Talkback feature on the free iHeartRadio app. We just got another one. We'll play that for you here in a little bit. We're all over the big stories of the day: NBA playoffs, NFL draft, only 9 days away, Major League Baseball, Astros beat the Angels last night 8-3, but Jose Altuve leaves the game with a foot injury. That is concerning. We talked USFL, and we opened the show talking about the news yesterday that the golf match, celebrity athlete golf match for charity, sponsored by Capital One. Capital One's The Match is coming back on June 1st. It'll be on TNT at 6:30 from the Wynn Casino Hotel in Las Vegas on the Las Vegas Strip. And it will feature NFL, 4 of the last 5 MVP quarterbacks, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Now, last night, and I think looking at the timestamp yesterday, our good friend Andy Everett posted on his Facebook page this review or this reaction to the match. Andy writes, quote, "I can't wait not to watch this. No Tiger, no Phil, no Rory, no JT, no Spieth. All 4 of them have a higher handicap than I do," meaning the 4 quarterbacks. Now, if it raises a lot of money for charity, then I'm all for this to continue if it helps someone in need, especially a child who needs medical care, housing, or food. Golf has done and continues to do more to support charitable causes than every other sport on the planet combined. I just don't see the entertainment value in watching celebrity golfers on TV. At the top of the show, I read this to Shannon and to Jeremy, and Shannon, Jeremy, and I kind of like the idea of watching Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes, and Josh Allen not only golf, but talk trash to one another. Andy Everett has been kind enough to join us. He joins us every Thursday at 8:35. He's been kind enough to join us this morning on the phone line. Andy Everett, what do you have against Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes, and Josh Allen?
They're far better football players than they are golfers. As I said, I think golf does so much for charity. I probably play in 5 or 6 charity golf tournaments a year, and every single one of them is a great cause. And golf is something that brings people together to enjoy the day and to raise money for charity, especially with the silent auctions and all the entry fees into the tournaments. And the golf courses usually discount the rate for the players so that so more money can go to the charities. And I think for all 4 of these guys to do that for charity is awesome. And I know people that are not golf fans but are sports fans will watch. But I think without Tiger or Phil or some of the star players, this loses some of its luster. And I believe it's June 1st, right? It's when they're doing this.
Yes.
So I haven't looked at the calendar exactly, but I think that's the week of the Memorial Tournament in Dublin, Ohio. So most of the top players aren't going to be able to go then. They're going to be at Jack's tournament in Ohio. So I don't without a star presence there to really make the golf legit from that standpoint, I don't see the entertainment value from golf, at least from diehard avid golfers. But because I didn't want to go into a long dissertation, but obviously because there are sports fans that want to see these guys in whatever thing that they're doing, that's okay. I mean, I don't hate it. It's just not entertainment for me. And I think the other thing too is it gives this illusion that golf is this really easy game and anybody can do it. And you're a pro athlete in football, basketball, or baseball. Well, in 15 minutes, you'll be on the PGA Tour. And not only were any of those, there are players on the PGA Tour that are a lot closer to playing another professional sport than anybody in any other professional sport playing on the PGA Tour. Now I'm talking about the Brooks Koepkas and the Gary Woodlands and those guys that are big and strong. Had they chosen to go down that road, there's a possibility they could have gone a ways there. But there's not a single golfer in pro football right now that, unless they stopped everything they were doing and put every ounce of energy they had into golf for the next 2 years, would even qualify for a tournament unless they got really, really good really quickly and didn't do their other sport. And that's the thing that I think gets lost in all of this, how incredibly good the PGA Tour golfers are. And I'm not only talking about the top 10, I'm talking about the top 250. They're all better than anybody that's in another sport right now.
I think you just hurt Tony Romo's feelings with that one, Andy Everett. Andy, this tournament.
I hope so, because he's not going anywhere anytime soon.
The match
he might as well stay in TV. He's going to make more money there.
Since 2018, the match has raised $33 million for different organizations and has provided 17 million meals. So they do a great job at continuing what the PGA already does so well in raising funds for charities. But to me, I'm a big fan of AT&T Pebble or the Pro-Am in the summertime with not just athletes, but actors and singers and all kinds of celebrities from all different avenues coming in to enjoy the game of golf. Are you okay with something like that more so than what we're getting with the match games? And why is one different than the other to you?
Well, that event's been going on for about 30, 40 years, and a lot of them are retired athletes. Then Charles Barkley goes out there and shoots $1 million, and everybody laughs at him. And Michael Jordan is really trying to beat some of the guys like Al Del Greco and John Smoltz, and he can't because he's not as good as they are. So I'm okay with that. I don't watch it more than about 8 minutes, probably in the last 10 years. But it's okay. It's kind of a traditional thing. And as you prefaced all that with, it's great that golf brings all this money to charity and provides the meals and the housing and all of that it does. But I'm curious to see if this match is going to draw anyone that cares as much as the last three, because in the previous ones, you had a professional golfer there. You had Phil, you had Tiger, you may have had, I don't remember who some of the other ones are, maybe Dustin Johnson's done it a couple times. And this tends to get pretty old pretty quick, and then it kind of fades away until we drum up something else in 5 years or 10 years. So if you're raising money for charity in the name of golf, or if you're introducing golf to people that have never played it before, I'm 100% behind it. But to watch guys that shoot 78 normally on their home golf course go out and shoot that or worse, is obviously going to be some kind of a best ball format. But if they were playing their own ball, would shoot that or worse on TV from a golf entertainment standpoint. I'd rather watch the Pro-Am at the Memorial if it actually were being shown that day.
He is Andy Everett. We are reacting to the match scheduled for June 1st, Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers versus Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. And Andy, my frame of reference, I brought this up earlier to Shannon and Jeremy. When I was a kid in the early 70s, and you probably remember it as well, on ABC's Wide World of Sports was the Superstars competition. And it was usually in the spring about this time of year, opposite NFL. And I think O.J. Simpson won it once before we knew he was a bad guy. Roger Staubach was in it. There were, as you may recall, players from the NBA, players from Major League Baseball, Johnny Bench and others, and they would play tennis. They would do track and field. The non-NBA players would play one-on-one basketball. And again, to me, it was fun, and it is fun. And I realize, obviously, these quarterbacks are not as good as the professional golfers that you cite. And you made the very interesting point that your handicap is better than any of these four quarterbacks. But I still think, for me, it's entertainment, not only to watch them play, but to hear them talk and trash talk and talk with the announcers. And Shannon made a point earlier today as well. There's probably, some 12-year-old kid out there who's going to tune in because it's Tom Brady or Rodgers or Mahomes or Josh Allen and watch them playing golf and say, hey, this is kind of cool. Maybe I'll look into golf. That looks like a lot of fun. So Andy, I think it's good for the game in addition to everything else.
Yeah. I don't think it's bad for the game at all. And that's what I was saying is that if it brings another kid to golf or another person to golf that's not been there before to try the sport and promote the sport, then I'm 100% on board, along with the charitable factor. I just think often it gets lost in the mix that these guys are some hotshot golfer that's ready to go on the tour and challenge. And maybe not everybody thinks that. Certainly golfers don't. But there's people out there that watch the NFL every Sunday and go, well, Tom Brady's won 1 million Super Bowls. I bet you could win the U.S. Open if he really tried. Well, I doubt it. He might be able to qualify for the region, the sectional someday if that's all he did. And he started 20 years ago. But his skill set is as a football player. But I remember those Wide World of Sports episodes. I think Wilt Chamberlain was in one of them. And,
Yeah.
a couple others. And then shortly after that, those series aired, the NFL owners and NBA owners, MLB owners said, wait a second, you guys are going to injure yourself not playing our sport, so we don't want you to do this anymore. And so they took that fun out of it. I even remember Battle of the Network Stars, like in the mid to late 70s, where some of the TV guys the TV show people would go out and, it'd be Happy Days versus, Laverne and Shirley or something like that. So it was, those were always fun, and this will be fun too. I just think from a golf entertainment standpoint, I'm not there to watch the golf. If you're there to watch everything else, that's great. And if golf gets you involved, if this gets you involved in golf, that's even better. But I just, I don't see that as, from a golf perspective, it being that entertaining from the golf world. It may be entertaining in a lot of other ways, and it's also a Wednesday night, I think, in the middle of the golf season. So, I may see it for a few seconds, but it's not something that if I miss, I'm going to lose any sleep over.
Well, Andy, I already know that Shannon will watch, Jeremy will watch, and I will watch. So if you miss any of it on the next day on the 2nd of June, we'll tell you what you missed. Andy, I know you got to be somewhere this morning, and I appreciate your jumping in here on short notice and knowing that we would have a friendly debate with you from the other side of it. You made a great case, but I'm still excited about it, and we'll talk to you on Thursday, man. Thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
All right. See you guys then.
All right. Andy Everett, host of the golf show on Saturday mornings, 8:00 on Ticket 760. If you're outside San Antonio, or even if you're not, you want to hear it crystal clear, it'll be on the iHeartRadio app. And of course, Andy is the voice of UTSA athletics. And Shannon, his point, seems to be, and he's coming from the position of a golf purist, that, when he watches golf, he likes watching the elite guys golf, and he doesn't think these are elite guys. But again, I'm not watching it for the joy of golf or for golf greatness. I'm watching it for trash talk, and I'm watching it. I don't know who I'll pull for. You made the point earlier, Shannon. What's kind of fun about this lineup, it's the old guys versus the young guys. It's Brady and Rodgers versus Mahomes and Allen. And even that's kind of a fun matchup to watch.
Yeah, I think first, I think about the personality more than I think about what their, actual golf ability might be. But also we have seen, guys like, gosh, the name escapes me, but he played with the Cavaliers and, is the one that LeBron was so upset at because he didn't take a last second shot. J.R. Smith. Thank you, Jeremy. He's playing at the college level now. I mean, I think it is possible to pursue golf in different avenues. Obviously, Johnny Manziel didn't get very far with his attempt to be a pro golfer, and Tony Romo probably would have been better off had he not had a million back surgeries prior to taking golf more seriously. But I don't think it's too far-fetched to think that some of these guys could go out there and play really well and be entertaining with their golf game and not just with what they may or may not talk about.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so, Jeremy, did Andy convince you not to tune in?
No, I'll still tune in, but I see what he's saying as a golf purist. As he did sound a little bit, I think we had a comment. He sounded a little bit like "get off my lawn, old guy, get off my lawn." But I get what he's saying. But I'm still gonna watch. I still think it's pretty entertaining.
Yeah, I again, part of the fun is the trash talk, and the interaction, not only among themselves, but the broadcasters come in. Andy mentioned Charles Barkley. He came in on one of these as a guest commentator. So, some surprises along the way. I'm a fan. I think it's cool. All right. We mentioned we do have a talkback feature that we love to use, and it's so easy. And especially in the morning, if you got other stuff that you're doing, if you're multitasking and you just want to leave a comment or pose a question, you can do it. You go to the free iHeartRadio app. On the bottom, there's a little microphone that you just touch that, and it gives you 30 seconds. You leave a message, you click send, and you're off. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. We just recently got another talk back audio message from one of our listeners / viewers. Let's listen to that.
Good morning, Chris, Shannon, Jeremy. Hi, this is Hector Gomez. Y'all talking about cutting cable? We cut the cable several years ago. We got on the thing of YouTube TV. We were paying something like over $100 for cable. Now we're paying 50 something dollars a month for UTV. And we get a lot of the features that we didn't even have with cable. Just an FYI. Thanks, y'all. Doing a great job. Have a good day.
Thank you, Hector Gomez. Thanks for that message. I'm sure Spectrum Cable listening in this morning, Shannon, is happy with that one. I mean, as he describes, and I've often, you go to YouTube and they give you an option to sample YouTube TV. I haven't done it yet. I've been to somebody's house who had it. It looks pretty cool. But, can you imagine, Shannon, if you're a cable industry executive right now? I mean, every year, more and more people like you told us earlier, Shannon, you cut the cable, and I'm certainly considering it. They've got to find more ways, and plus streaming services. Now I pay for so many streaming services. It's almost by necessity. I'm going to have to cut the cable to continue to watch the things I want to watch, like Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty.
Yeah. And it was a hard move for me, I think, to do it, but ultimately I find that I don't feel without as much as I maybe thought I would years before when cutting cable started to become a thing.
Yeah, because I think about what I watch on cable. I watch sports. I watch news channels when there's breaking news. And it's like, wow, there's a hurricane or there's a war in Ukraine. I mean, but yet, you can find most of that online as well. So that is, certainly a way that a lot of people are going. So lots more we want to get to here this morning. In the next segment, I do want to recap Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. We are all up to date on that. All three of us watched the latest episode yesterday. But the Washington Commanders, Shannon, as we talk about the National Football League, whenever we get the chance, they're in hot water. A congressional committee doing investigating found irregularities that they forwarded to the Federal Trade Commission about the Washington Commanders team allegedly moving revenue from ticket sales at FedEx Field that was due to other NFL franchises, did not pay them. And in addition to that, withholding deposits from loyal season ticket holders. What's the latest on this Washington Commanders fiasco?
They're denying it. They released a statement back to that organization, pretty much just denying that they even withheld funds to begin with, which as big of a statement it was for that kind of conclusion to come out that, yes, they did do that, for Dan Snyder and company to turn around and be like, no, we didn't. I think this is, head to head now. We're going to get to the bottom of this, and this feels like it's going to be Dan Snyder's last effort to keep the reins on the Commanders in that Washington organization, because there's no way after potentially doing this and then denying it that he's going to come out on top.
Yeah, and obviously, and I'm sure he sat in a room with lawyers, and I'm sure probably. The first step is to deny it and see if other people can prove the accusations against you. But as we said on this show a number of days ago, the league would be better off without Daniel Snyder. And you may very well have gazillionaire Jeff Bezos waiting in the wings, who owns the Washington Post and is from the D.C. area and is interested in sports franchises. We outlined a lot of ways that having Bezos and Amazon as part of NFL ownership, it could ultimately really benefit the NFL, which doesn't need a whole lot of benefits, but they certainly don't need an awful owner, who Dan Snyder certainly appears to be, and a franchise that hasn't been run well. Now, it benefits the Cowboys that the Washington Commanders are mismanaged, but it's better for the league in general. And I think we found that out in the NBA when the NBA blew out Donald Sterling as the owner of the LA Clippers. Speaking of the NBA, coming up, I want to get Shannon and Jeremy's thoughts of the latest episode of Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty. on HBO and HBO Max. That and a whole lot more. We'll keep an eye on all the other trending stories in the world of sports. She's Shannon Salty Sweeney, Jeremy KOLOK, your Soundscape stylist. We are with you till 9 on the Chris Duel Show. Warren Wheeler says, Duel, mask mandates removed from airports and airlines. Did you go outside, look at the sky, and scream? Now, I only do that when the Cowboys play and lose, pretty much. All I know, Warren, obviously, judges do what judges do. I still see a lot of scientific experts, and there's still a lot of people dying from the coronavirus. And I think that you blow it off or you assume that it is all over at your own peril in countries around the world that released all of their mandates for masks and social distancing. COVID-19 spiked and more people died and more average people died. So, you know, obviously I don't want anybody to die. I don't want anybody to get sick. But yeah, I'm a caregiver for my soon to be 99-year-old mom. So I'm extra cautious, careful, and vigilant. So, but no, I did not look at the sky and scream. Last time I did that was when the Cowboys lost to the 49ers in the divisional round of the playoffs. Romo made me do that and swear a lot too. So Louisa says, I'll never cut cable because you can't record and I don't have time to watch the entire program. I fast forward through all the commercials. I record up to 5 programs a day. I'm a big fan of the DVR. I'll tell you that. Oh, look at Jeremy, Louisa. You can record with YouTube TV. Boom. So there's that. All right. Yeah, John Williams is sending me a link that Magic Johnson hates winning time. And, you know, you just look at how he's portrayed. And, you know, probably many of us, if there was a dramatic series portraying us in our 20s, we may not love that either.
dance them up to one by one. Thank you. Mom's got Ziva when they come. Hurrah! Hurrah! We used to spray and rush away, but Ziva lets us stay and play. Since it won't fog up the room, but the bugs will still meet their doom. Boom, boom, boom. Beat bugs with Zivo. It uses essential oils that attack bugs' biological systems. Plus, it's safe for use around people and pets when used as directed. Zivo, people friendly, bug deadly. Now at a store near you.
Woo! Woo! Nice. DQ Tran. See, that's how you do it. You got an offer for $20 a month to give someone your username and password to YouTube TV. It's now up to 30. There you go, Carl Fisher. Oh, I charged 30. Now I get it. Here we come. Woo! Woo!
Back to the Chris Duel Show with Shannon Salty Sweeney.
I don't know when
Some Prison Blues by the Man in Black, Johnny Cash.
On down to San Antonio.
There's a bonus San Antonio reference in the song. Thank you, Soundscape stylist Jeremy KOLOK. It is the Chris Duel Show with Shannon, Salty, Sweeney on this Taco Tuesday, April 19th. And all three of us, I think the first time ever, and I'm usually the delinquent one, all three of us did our homework assignment yesterday, which was watch episode, I think we're at episode 7 of Winning Time, Rise of the Lakers Dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. By the way, this came up in the previous segment, and we had a talkback message from Hector Gomez, who said he cut his cable and went to YouTube TV. And Jeremy, you told us during the break, and I did not realize this, you did that as well. You are a YouTube TV subscriber, and apparently you're digging it. You would recommend it. Is that right?
It's just really convenient, especially for here, because I show up to the iHeart building and there's many computers. I find myself in many different rooms, and you just log in on whatever computer you're on. And then, like you mentioned, Chris, I mean, you're driving home maybe, and there's a game, maybe even a Spurs game that's like coming right down to the finish. And maybe you can't get Bill Schoning's reception or something, or maybe you just want to see it with your own eyes. If it's not a Spurs game, you just throw it on your phone and like put it to the side. And my point is it's available wherever you are. And it was such a like drastic change having that from, you got to be in front of a TV to where now wherever you are, you're not going to miss a game now. I mean, like if you're at a wedding, like you said, you're going to drive through, you're at church. Hopefully, you keep the volume down, but it's just so convenient.
That's a huge selling point compared to cable. You're locked in. You got to watch at your house, to where, and I'm surprised if they're not, and I haven't seen ads touting that. That's what YouTube TV should be explaining to people. It's like, hey man, we give you freedom to take your TV anywhere you go. And one of the things that Jeremy watches on YouTube TV is the television drama involving sports that the three of us are enjoying. Winning Time, The Rise of the Lakers Dynasty on HBO and HBO Max. Episode 7, which dropped Sunday night. We got to wake up early, so we watched it yesterday. The title of the episode was Invisible Man. And Shannon, we saw a lot of things, and certainly what was highlighted was the rivalry between the Lakers and the Boston Celtics, and specifically, and they both came out of college at roughly the same time, and they faced each other in the national championship game. Magic Johnson for Michigan State, Larry Bird for Indiana State. Larry Bird goes to the Boston Celtics. Magic goes to the Lakers. And as I had heard over the years about Larry Bird, he was not the nicest guy in the world. And certainly in this episode, he's not a very nice human being to Magic Johnson.
No, and I was super shocked. There's a moment before the game, they have a presser, and Magic is already waiting in the hallway to enter the presser, and you see what's just kind of a bottom to the top shot. Starts with the shoes, and then you see a beer can, and then this guy, I didn't even recognize at first that it was Larry Bird until they were both going into the presser together, and I was like, I guess that's him. I don't know that I've ever seen him back in the day outside of his uniform, and so I was just very taken aback of like kind of how, I guess, country he is or was or whatever, farm boyish. And then for the press conference to kind of go the way it did, where he was kind of a Marshawn Lynch of one word answers and not really going to give you much, and then covers the microphone, leans over towards Magic and says a couple things that we can't say on this radio station, but they were not very kind, and about the game that was ahead of them. I thought that, that really opened my eyes to this Larry Bird guy, who I think now, as someone who didn't watch him play then, I see as like, oh, like the nice old man who used to be really good at basketball.
And what that illustrates, I think, that moment, that's a big moment in the episode when Larry Bird does say that thing we can't say on radio to Magic Johnson. I remember back in that era of the NBA, opponents really didn't like each other, and certainly rivals didn't like each other. Michael Jordan, famous for humiliating his opponents. Like, I remember the Detroit Pistons were the bad boys with Dennis Rodman and Bill Laimbeer and Joe Dumars and Isaiah Thomas, and they used to get into fights with the Chicago Bulls. And to this day, that's part of the reason Michael Jordan did not want Isaiah Thomas on the Olympic team. These rivals really hated each other back in the day. Jeremy KOLOK, you're a huge basketball fan. I am seeing on our live video feed, Jason Paniagua writes, Adrian Brody is pulling off the Pat Riley character pretty good in Winning Time. We're really seeing the arc of Pat Riley from the former player to the sidekick of broadcaster Chick Hearn, not being allowed to talk much with Chick Hearn, to kind of risking his career when Paul Westhead invites him to come and be a part of the coaching staff. Your thoughts on Adrian Brody as Pat Riley and your overall thoughts on Winning Time?
It's funny you mentioned that because I feel like Pat Riley's storyline is potentially my favorite. It's definitely one of my favorites out of all the characters, and I'm really enjoying his scenes particularly, and seeing his character develop into, obviously it's different than just watching a random show and watching a character develop and go through major changes, because we know what Pat Riley is like now, as opposed to this mustached man that is the color commentator on the Lakers radio network. And the one thing I thought about in this last episode, this most recent episode, because like you mentioned, it involved the Celtics so much, and just in general, I guess, is the casting director. Every episode I see, I think the casting director just nailed this, just in so many different ways. And the Red Auerbach character, I mean, those scenes are phenomenal, and it is so spot on. And I love those interactions between Red Auerbach and Dr. Jerry Buss. And I cannot emphasize enough how impressed I am by John C. Reilly. I mean,
Oh my God.
He should win an Emmy off of this based on what I've seen so far. And it's so phenomenal.
I think John C. Reilly is a slam dunk for an Emmy. I totally agree with you. And to your point, what Jeremy describes, the dislike and distaste for Red Auerbach to and from Dr. Jerry Buss, and they go to the Boston Garden, and Red Auerbach has great seats, like front row, and he sticks Dr. Jerry Buss and a fellow executive like in the very top of the nosebleeds, last row, up in the rafters at the Boston Garden, and is just like looking up at him, smoking that big cigar as Red Auerbach did, and kind of mocking him and nodding at him before that game. And talking about the characters, Shannon, and I really think so many of these characters are great, but the guy who plays Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, that's just a great character arc as well. Kareem is kind of old school. He's Muslim, as we know, changed his name from Lou Alcindor to Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He's that kind of the grizzled veteran who's used to doing things his way. And in comes Magic Johnson, who is smiling at everybody, friendly with everybody, making endorsement money. And Kareem, who, like so many African-American athletes, went through so much racism throughout his career, and part of his conversations with Magic are about race and how the white man will treat you in this game. And a great scene at Magic's house when the Lakers were in town for a Detroit Pistons game, where Kareem is talking with Magic's dad while Magic is holding court in the other room, and just talking about how both of them handle and should handle Magic Johnson. Just a lot of great character development for us to sink our teeth into there.
Yeah, I mean, up until this point, right, Kareem just kind of was super separated from Magic. I mean, they played basketball together, but he didn't have this understanding of him. He asks Magic's father, why is he always smiling? Does he ever not smile? And his father says, no, he was born that way. He turned around and smiled the second he arrived. But then he told him, you need to look out for him, because his dad understood that this was kind of just the beginning, and that him being in that position, he was going to get a lot of heat. And, we obviously know that Kareem and Magic went on to win a ton of championships together. And to me, that was kind of the start of this moment of their bond. That for a long time, with that orange juice isn't right. Have the newspaper here in this order at 6 a.m. I think we've kind of turned a corner specifically from that to where they are now and where they might be headed.
And Jeremy, you mentioned, and we didn't get into this, you mentioned Pat Riley. The Pat Riley character may be your favorite. Huge scene in this episode. Paul Westhead, who is filling in as head coach, over his head, didn't see this coming, and is very, very nervous, doesn't have a lot of self-confidence. It asks Pat Riley to join him on the bench. Riley risks the radio career to do it. They find out that they're looking at Elgin Baylor as a replacement who could then eject Pat Riley from the bench. And then there's this scene where Pat Riley just kind of loses it and throws Paul Westhead into the shower and turns the shower on first thing in the morning to just try to wake him up. He even says, this is your wake-up call, and try to get him to, develop a little fire in the belly as head coach going into the Boston game. Your thoughts on that scene? Jeremy.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I really like that scene, but what I've been kind of more focusing on with Pat Riley is I want to see how he takes control with his basketball mind. I don't really know how to explain that, but I'm more watching him from a coach perspective because, like I said, we know he's a coach this far, into the future, but we don't know if you're watching, it's kind of a weird, like, you're not supposed to know that he's a coach because he doesn't know that, which is a weird, like, phenomenon kind of.
Yeah.
But I'm just kind of focusing on I want to see him make that basketball transition where he kind of takes control of the reins. And I don't know if that's going to happen before he gets the job because I'm kind of waiting to see how that kind of, interaction goes between the people in charge of ahead of him. But I'm kind of just waiting to see when he goes all in and says, all right, I know what I'm talking about. I have a good basketball mind and I'm going to be the next dude here.
Yeah. And I think that shower scene kind of foreshadows when he's had enough and just takes charge. Shannon, what would you say? And I know people hear us talking about this series and we love it. You're not a Laker fan. You're a Mavericks fan. I'm not a Laker fan. Neither is Jeremy. We're Spurs fans. I've heard some people say to us on social media, hey, man, I'm not into the Lakers. I'm not going to watch this. Why do you think this is such a good series?
Well, before I answer that, the Pat Riley thing, there's also an instance where before he is an assistant for the first time, he's looking in the mirror and he's saying, Coach Riley, I'm Coach Riley, like he's introducing himself. And there is a quick flash to where we see the Coach Riley that I think Jeremy and I are more familiar with the gray hair, the slicked back, the very stern look about him. Right. And that was a great tease of that episode. For me, it's because of guys like the Coach Rileys and the Magic Johnsons, guys that are still very much part of the game and getting that backstory to how they came to be. We talk about ESPN 30 for 30s and those documentary style shows that we love, where we fall in love with either teams or athletes that we may not be associated with because they're not from our team or from our region, but we find that connection with them. And I think that's just what we're getting with this show. This amazing rise of what would ultimately be this Lakers Showtime run. You may hate the fact that they did win all 5 of those championships, but the story behind how they did it is incredible thus far, and they haven't won anything yet in this show.
Yeah, it's a fun ride. And I think part of the fun is we know who these people are and we know who they become, and to kind of see the character evolution is it's just a fun ride, and it's very entertaining, and it's often very funny and very dramatic sometimes, but often very funny. Shannon Salty Sweeney, as always, outstanding. We'll do this again tomorrow with the great Bill Schoening and others. Thanks so much.
I look forward to it.
Woo! Jeremy KOLOK. I think there's no homework assignment for tonight other than watch a little NBA playoff basketball,
which I will be doing. Shout out to Marcus Smart, OSU grad.
Woo! We'll keep an eye on that dude. All right. Quick break, a 21-hour break. We'll see you tomorrow. Adios, amigos. All right, y'all. Yeah. Jason, Carl, Axel, Louisa, Tom Cunanan. Didn't see you in here, Tom. Good morning. DQ. Anybody else who I don't currently see at the moment? And I'm only looking at the most recent comments. Thanks for being with us. Thank you, Louisa. That's very kind of you. We will do this in 21 hours. Enjoy your Taco Tuesday. See you tomorrow.